Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. Little bit tired, a little bit tired, a little bit tired. I'm working on sleeping 7 hours a night as per my coach.
So how many hours do you usually do?
Prior to the coach telling me that she's tired of having the conversation with me for the last year and a half, because right now Apple would tell you that I'm averaging pretty consistently. My average is close to 7 hours a night. 45 days ago, it would tell you that my average was about 5 hours and 48 minutes a night,
Okay,
which
so
I
what
still don't think is terrible.
well and I think these things are like averages. So for you, when do you
Mhm.
feel your best? Because for me, if I sleep 8 hours, that's too much. Like I can't. If I sleep
Yeah,
four,
see,
it's too little.
I can function completely fine consistently on 6 hours. Like I've functioned on 6 hours forever. I can function on 3 hours for a couple days. Like I can do bursts. That said, um, apparently sleep is a requirement for perimenopause. And
Well, that's good to know.
yeah, and and for health and well-being and for your body to do what it's supposed to do and all the things.
For your brain
So
to clean out its stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and for your and metabolism and all the stuff that gets affected by the fact that we're aging. And so she essentially, I think she nicely said to me, you don't get to complain about the fact that you're not getting what you want anymore if you don't change this one thing. So I'm trying.
Okay. That's probably something that I need to do myself.
7 hours, Jen. That's the number. 7 hours. I know
You know
you're
what?
not
You know
gonna.
what? You know what it is? At nighttime. That's the time where I can do what I want to do. Like I can just chill, I can watch TV, I can, you know what I mean? And so then I get, and then if I get into a show, I can't just watch one
Oh.
episode.
Well, no, you have to watch the whole thing. See, the funny thing for me is it's not actually nighttime for me. Like I can go to bed early and I can sleep. Like I go to bed early. It's the fact I am my most productive early in the morning, and I'm very effective early in the morning, and I've always been that way. And so, like, so I get up early. So for me to get 7 hours sleep, I need to be asleep before 10. So it's not like I'm up late. And so she's always like, "Well, your evening routine." I'm like, "It's not my evening routine that's the issue. It's the fact that I like that I wake up at 4 a.m." Because if my body wakes up anywhere past 3 o'clock in the morning, I have a really hard time going back to sleep. Like
Mm.
I am the person who, if I have to get up to go to the bathroom, TMI on a podcast, but I walk with my eyes shut. Like I do everything to try and trick my body into thinking it's still asleep.
I have a story that I could tell about going to the washroom in the middle of the night, which I probably should not tell
Okay,
because it's
we'll
probably
save that
too
for
much
another
information.
episode.
We'll save it for another episode. Yeah. We'll save it for another.
Getting real with AWL. That's what we do over here.
But okay, that is a good segue into what we're talking about today, getting real, right? Because
Okay,
we're
I'm very
talking
curious
about
how you're segueing this.
we need to be real, and I think sales, to be real in sales, you need a certain level of emotional intelligence,
Okay.
right? And so we're getting real. Let's get real with the conversation about sales, right?
Hmm.
And let's get real about how we can use emotional intelligence for sales, because I often am met with people who do not use emotional intelligence in their sales. I do
Yeah.
not like to feel like I'm being sold to. I don't.
Yep.
I am a person who has studied sales. I have. I
Yep. You know
understand the
human behavior.
process. I understand all of that. So when people start talking to me in a certain way or asking me certain questions, I'm like, stop trying to sell to me and just talk to me. I want to
Yep.
just have a conversation. All I need is the information so that I can make a decision. Don't try to convince me. Don't try to do all of those things. Just give me the information,
Yeah.
because I get
Yep.
irritated, like irritated. LinkedIn is a bad one. Hi,
Oh, the
Jen.
LinkedIn messages are awful.
Hi, Jen. I saw your profile and I thought it would be good to connect. I have this product. I'm like, at that point, done. I'm not listening anymore.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting with that though too is that that's not even humans. Like those are bots. 100%. Those are pre-programmed emails that they send the exact same email to every single person. Because I always laugh when I get those for like a product that or a service that we deliver. I'm like, did you look at the profile? Did you try and learn anything about us? This is what we do.
Yeah.
So I always kind of giggle.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. And I think there's a whole like sales is complex. It's funny. I did a podcast last night and I said on the podcast that I love selling. And the host was like, we need to we need to talk about that a little bit. Because that's not a common thing. Um, but I have always looked at sales as through a very different lens than I think a lot of people have looked at sales, and that was just where I grew up selling. We had a very different sales approach. We had a very human sales approach. It was very much, and we were very committed to the solution. So for the close to, or sorry, to the success of people, and so for the 30 years that I've been selling, I've always focused on ensuring that I didn't just sell. It was a full circle where the person actually like got what we committed to. And so I think that that has set my mindset around sales into this positive experience where if we think back to 25 years ago, 20 years ago, sales was a bad word because salespeople were slimy and they were
Mm,
sneaky and they were all
mhm,
these things. So
mhm.
even when you talk about like that experience that you have and like don't do that, it's because we've connected a negative feeling to what they're doing, as opposed where they truly might just be trying to understand you, which is actually emotional intelligence, but we've connected like a yuckiness to the active sales process, right? And for and
So let me clarify
yeah.
something. Let me clarify something. So it's fine if you're trying to get to know me and
Mhm.
understand me. But when you do it under the pretense, like if you're just trying to sell me something, then don't
Just tell
put,
me.
then exactly. And
Yeah.
that's the part that I don't like. And that's the part that I don't appreciate. There's an ulterior motive almost. And it's like,
Yeah.
tell me your motive so that I can tell you, yes, I can help you, or no, I can't. I'm not
Yeah.
interested.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I'm going to pick on an industry right now. Sorry, industry. It's not your industry. It's just the way that a lot of salespeople in your industry have decided to find people. Um, LinkedIn messages from financial planners. How many do you get a week, Jen? Because I get about 18. Like,
Every day, every day.
yeah. And so what's interesting to me about that is I'm not quite sure who told financial planners that the approach to finding people to do planning was to just cold message on LinkedIn. Um, but somebody has sent this memo out that says, hey, you know what you should do. And I and
And everyone,
and
and so many people are doing the same thing. Like I'll get the exact same
that's
message
the thing, is
from
it's the exact same message every single time, which says to me, if you're doing cold, at least like be creative. Like bring some value. I don't know if I was looking for a financial planner. I'm not. I have one. Everybody. If not looking for one. If I was looking for a financial planner, I wouldn't even know how to choose between the 18 that messaged me this week because they all say the exact same thing. So I'm not even necessarily like this one. Like so anyways, tangent. But you're 100% right. Like I think the shift in sales in selling in the last 20 plus years is very much around the fact that consumers are smart now and the old school way of selling was very much built on mindset that consumers were not smart. And I say that with a great big asterisk, not because we were not intelligent as humans, but we weren't smart about the product. Because, and if we use cars as an example, because I think we all think of a sleazy car salesman, if we use cars as an example, I wasn't able to learn about cars 25 years ago, pre-internet days. Like, how did I know about cars?
Mhm.
I don't know
Mhm.
anything. But now, if I wanted to learn about cars, I could very easily get that information because all I have to do is go on Google and start pulling up information on cars, and I could do cross comparisons. I can find people who've done all that work for me, comparing similar vehicles and similar price ranges. Like, I am now can be very educated as a consumer. And so, because of that shift in education, it's why the sales approach has needed to shift. And ironically, I think some industries, um, finance is one of them, it's actually still a very complex industry. And because it's complex, they still have maintained some of those styles.
Mm.
Because it's even if I Google understanding financial planning, it's still complicated. Uh, Uncommon. Let's get ourselves canceled on a Wednesday. Um, I believe it's why the industry keeps it complex because it serves
Mm.
them.
Mm.
And at some point that will shift. The car industry is a perfect example of that. The car industry served them to keep things complex because then they didn't have to tell you the prices. They've had transparent pricing now for what, 15 plus years, where you don't go in and haggle over a car anymore.
Right. Right.
So,
So, what is in my opinion, I am going to buy from someone I like,
mhm.
and if the price matches what I'm able to afford or what I want to spend, right?
What you
Essentially,
consider valuable.
yeah, essentially that is where I'm at. And I don't, if I feel that someone is being disingenuous,
Mhm.
then I'm probably not going to go with that.
Well, and I think you just said why emotional intelligence is powerful because that is liking people, right? Like, if we really break down how do we connect with somebody, how do we help somebody feel like I like them, we do that through active listening, which is an emotional intelligence skill. We do that through connecting with somebody, finding something in common with somebody. We do that typically with people who are similar to us. And there's going to be people who go, yeah, but those are sales skills that we've always had, which is very true. I'm not disagreeing with that. And I think if we start to shift the mindset around this is actually what good salespeople have always done, it's the intention that has shifted, right? And yes, good salespeople have always done those things. And I would argue that good salespeople were emotionally intelligent 25 years ago, too. Uh, it's just there were also slimy salespeople 25 years ago, and they sold through different tactics because they had education as an advantage. That and so now, as the world has shifted, more people should be and could be selling, which is what I advocate for all the time. Is the fact that we are all salespeople, and so if we actually get more comfortable with it, there is a lot of opportunity out there in the world, for lots of people because we can all do this.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting because on another podcast that we recorded, we talked about language and
Mhm.
and the feelings we've associated with certain words. And I believe that we've associated a certain belief when it comes to sales.
Mhm.
Because if you really think about it, you're right. We all sell all day, every day. We're selling something. And
Yep.
so like if you think of the definition of a sale, I have something that I want you to, whether it's purchase, believe, understand, all of the, and then you do, and then that's the exchange,
Yeah.
right?
100%. Sales is influence, right? Like, sales is influence. If we shift, I'm trying to influence you is ultimately what I'm trying to do.
Mhm.
And we all influence people all the time.
Mhm.
Um, and that's and in good and in bad. Like there's bad influence too. I used to joke with my son to use his influence for good and not evil. But there's bad influence too. So we're all doing it, right? Like, and I think it's pretty not not the example that I want us to like dwell on, but if we look at social media and what's happened in the world of social media and influencers, right? How and we think about what's happening in that, we are all being sold on the ideas of what these people are putting out there. So we joke often on the podcast, we should probably be conscious of it, given we don't know who our audience is. They might not want to talk about perimenopause with us. But um, but we talk perimenopause jokes all the time on the podcast. And the reality is there's a whole bunch of influencers that have tried to tell us this is like we need protein, we need sleep, we need to wear a weighted vest, we need to what like they like the weighted vest industry is being fueled by social influencers who have no stake in the weighted vest industry, but this industry is growing so quickly, and it's because these people, we don't know if they're even telling us the truth, but the people are have all convinced us that we should wear weighted vests. There is actually science behind it, everybody, but but you know what I mean? Like that's the world we live in now, is that we're all influencing people and trying to influence their decisions, which is ultimately what sales is. And when we teach, we're trying to influence people to buy into the concepts that we're teaching, to understand that, you know, communication is good, being a good human is a good thing. We teach these things and we are
Mhm.
trying to influence behavior, which is ultimately sales. We're trying to get people to say yes. Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So then how do we move away from for people who are scared of sales and who are
Hmm.
scared to ask for the sale?
Yeah.
How do we support that shift in mindset?
I think so much of it goes back to it goes back to mindset, right? Like I think it's actually the starting place is shifting our mindset around what sales is, and and who we want to be as salespeople. Because I what I know about sales that I can tell you inside and out is that um the most successful way, if we talk about referrals, the most successful way to get referrals is to ask for them. The most successful way to get a sale is to ask for it. But I can also tell you the hardest thing that people have is the ask. And so I need people to ask more than I need them to ask in a certain way. So whatever way is authentic to you is going to be the way you're the most successful salesperson, whatever is going to equal confidence for you. And so much of it is mindset because it's confidence, right? And so I look at it and go, like the way I've always approached sales is I'm making friends. I literally, my whole sales career, nobody taught me that. I just was like making friends. I like meeting people, true extrovert. And so I was making friends. And so when I would get on the phone with people, I would talk to them like they were my friend. If they, and I would ask my friend for the thing that would help them, like that. Like that's how I looked at it, is if my friend needed this, I would offer it to them
Mhm.
because I want to help them. And I think that it's shifting some of those things where it's helping, it's trying to understand people so that we're not offering something that they don't need. It's trying to understand what's important to them. Is it your time? Is it money? Like, why is this helpful? To me, it's shifting. And if we're bringing value to somebody, and if we're making their life easier, if we're making their life better in some way, that to me isn't a bad thing. And so it's a mindset shift to
Mhm.
recognize that it doesn't work if you're selling something you don't believe in. But if you're influencing on something you believe in, it works because you're bringing good to somebody. And if we can sort of shift the mindset to that, to the bringing good, there, like, it's a mindset shift.
And so then the question is, how do we do the mind shift? And that's not something that we're going to be able to answer. It's more of an individual thing, an
Yeah,
individual
I
thing that
think
we need to
that
work on.
yeah, that to me is, especially if people have really big, like, I would say, like, in trainings that we do, we address that on a general level. In coaching that we do, we address that on a bigger level. But because it's understanding fears, again, emotional intelligence, it's
Mhm,
understanding fears, it's understanding confidence, it's self-awareness around what situation do I need to put myself in so that I feel the most confident. How do I do that more often? Like, it's, if I can give an example from years ago, there were two, we used to do referrals in sort of two different ways. We would do referrals where we would ask for referrals from existing clients, and we would ask for referrals at point of sale. I hated asking for referrals from existing clients because I felt like I had too deep of a relationship with them to
mhm,
ask existing clients. I had no problem asking people at point of sale because they were excited. I was excited. Let's talk about it then. I had no problem asking strangers for their own name, like in
mhm,
direct lead generation. But I didn't like asking the people who I had the big relationship with. There were other people who had the exact opposite feeling about it. So that's a mindset. That was a belief in terms of how I valued the relationship. But
mhm.
I always say to people, that's, find the thing that works for you and do that. Right. So a good coach will help you figure out where are your barriers and then help you strategize around that.
Yeah. Which goes to us saying, with regards to emotional intelligence, it's not just a nice to have, it is a sales strategy because you
Hmm.
do have to have an understanding of self. You do have to understand how you're showing up. You do have to understand how to read a room and to develop relationship. Like all of those things are necessary in order to actually make a sale.
Yeah.
And not necessarily even just a transactional sale, but just any type of sale.
Well, and I would even say, so, like, if we were to take you and me on this call, Jen, would you say you're a salesperson? Would you
I would
identify as
not.
a salesperson? Perfect.
No, I do not.
However, Jen, would you say that you have incredible relationships with all the people that we work with?
I do.
And from that perspective, would you also say that, like, it's important to you that they're taken care of, that they're served well, and everything
Yes.
else? Yeah.
Mhm.
And that for you leads to typically long-term relationships, repeat opportunities, retention, all of those things.
Right.
And referrals probably, right?
Hmm.
I would say you're a salesperson,
See,
right?
and it's
Like,
just how I see sales, right?
yeah,
I'm like, oh, I guess I am then, but yeah.
right? Like, and so I think it's recognizing, if you were to say to me, if we were like a big corporation and you were applying for a sales job, I would say you should do inside sales, not outside sales. Uh, because outside sales is the person going and bringing it in. Inside sales is the person nurturing it once it's there. Right.
Right.
Like, so, but both roles have critical aspects to sales. And so those are the things that, like, I think people don't always think about, right?
So how is it more authentic than the pushy sales that we've come to the stereotype?
Sales is, to me, especially sales in 2025 or whatever future year you're listening this in to listen. Sales is relationship building. And if you like people, then I would say focus on the relationship. And I say that and genuinely focus on the relationship, which means there will be times where you don't try to sell somebody because you shouldn't. And I would say, if you are a person who can say, I had somebody sitting with me and I told them I was not the right person for them, then you're probably doing it the right way. And if you can never say that, then that says to me you're probably focused more on you than you are on them. Because I can tell you there have been many times where I've said, I'm not the right person for you. And and then what I've done is I've helped that person find the right person for them, because I value the relationship more than I value the sale. And I think if everybody shifts into that mindset and understands that if I value the relationship more than the sale, sales will actually come,
Right.
and it's not yucky.
And it builds trust,
Yeah.
right? It builds trust. And so if what role would you say trust plays when you're having these conversions? Like when you're selling the idea, selling the product, selling the service?
Mhm. Yeah. And I think again, it's authenticity, right? We talk so much about being your authentic self. I grew up in a world of scripts. And I will say I still do believe there's sometimes where scripts are powerful. Um, but I think we're beyond a world of scripts now. I'm sure there's industries that still use scripts. Those emails are templates, guaranteed. Uh, um, but I think if we can be our authentic selves and show up authentically, then it all becomes easier, because then I don't have to worry about, do I have the sales mask on right now? Right?
Mhm.
Because I'm just me. And there's power in that. And I think as organizations, it's up to us to reflect on what autonomy do we give to our salespeople? What How do we help people show up as themselves confidently? Because
Mhm.
that confidence and that authenticity will always lead to more yeses than nos. But then I think there's a whole mindset thing around, the reality still is in sales, you're going to get a lot of no's. Like, that is sales. And so, especially if you're in true sales, like if you are in a selling position, you're going to get no's. And the best salespeople are the people who can withstand those no's. So so again, emotional intelligence, it's not me, right? If I am somebody who internalizes every single one of those no's, I'm probably going to struggle in sales.
Right.
So that's where, if it's a true sales position, it's still a numbers game, in the sense that you're going to get a bunch of no's, and you're gonna, like we always have said, kind of, you need 10 no's to get a yes, or 9 no's to get a yes. Um, and so, like, the analogy I've used for years is to picture a gumball machine. So if there was 100 gumballs in the gumball machine, and 10 of them were red and 90 of them were white, those 10 red gumballs, some days you turn the nozzle 10 times, you can get those 10 red gumballs out, and it's a great day. Other times you're going to turn that nozzle 100 times to get all 10 red gumballs out. And so it's the person who will keep turning it to get to the 100 that will ultimately be successful in sales. And so that's where the EQ really comes in, especially nowadays, because we've talked a lot about the comfort of the world today. And the reality is, we have a lot of people who are not comfortable being uncomfortable, and 97 no's is going to make somebody uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so that's where a lot of people, I think, struggle nowadays.
And so in those situations when you are on that no streak,
Yeah.
there's a certain amount of empathy that we have to give ourselves, right?
Mhm.
We have to be able to say, yeah, you know what, sucks. But I'm
Yeah.
just that much closer to a yes, right? Or it's not me, it's just not what they might need right now. Like having that empathy with yourself, but then also having empathy with your client.
Yeah.
Okay, and where I'm going with that part is when someone is trying to sell me and they're trying to sell me hard, I no longer feel like you care about what I'm saying or how I
Mhm.
feel or my situation or anything. You just care about the sale.
Yeah.
And that to me is not empathy, nor does it foster any sort of trust.
100%. and people need to hear that over and over and over again, right? And that to me is where, like, desperate salespeople are the worst salespeople, because
Mm,
it's that desperate, because you can feel the desperation. You
yes.
feel it.
Yes.
And so desperate sales never succeed. Uh, um, and it doesn't feel good. Like, it doesn't feel good. So again, I think it's recognizing things. Like, I know for me, I recognized very early in my career that I didn't like, the feeling of needing, like, needing money. Like, I
Mhm.
was not at my best when I needed money. So I learned very early in my career to fall into the trap of creating a lifestyle for myself that counted on my commissions and bonuses. I created a lifestyle for myself that was on my guaranteed income. And then the commissions and bonuses were just that, they were bonus. And so because of that, I never had to sell to pay my rent.
Mhm.
Right? Like, I just never put myself in that situation because I wasn't at my best then. And so I think it is some of that self-awareness in terms of, when do you become that desperate salesperson? That's so key for people, because, and again, I never worked in an environment where my comp structure was really heavily swung to commission only. Um, I could make a lot more money on my commission and bonuses, but I made enough money that I could live off of my base. And so I just never lived outside of my means off that base.
Mm.
And so it's looking for those things for yourself that, and again, that's that self-awareness, right? Like, as, and again, this becomes a controversial topic because the old school salespeople are going to say, well, they're not really salespeople. They need to suck it up. Like, this is just the world of sales, and all those other non-empathetic things to say. Um, and I would say, cool, but we also are in a very different generation of salespeople, and very different generation of shoppers.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
so I think we're more in a world where people want to be educated. People want to feel heard. They want all the things you're describing, which means we need to teach people how to sell differently now than we did 15 years ago.
Sure. Okay. So what's the takeaway? What is the takeaway from today? The call to action. What do we want people to do?
Okay, so I'm going to give people one of my favorite tips to give to salespeople, whether they're selling sellers or selling sellers. So my tip is this: we don't make good, we don't talk. Let me rewind. We don't speak compassionately to ourselves when things aren't going well.
Mm.
So I like to teach people to, when you're in a situation and you're going to get a bunch of no's, or you're potentially presenting an idea to your executive team and you know they might say no. You need to, prior to getting those no's, tell yourself what you're going to say to yourself when those no's start to happen.
Mhm.
Because when you're in a positive state, you're going to tell yourself to say to yourself something like, they're not ready yet. Or you're going to tell yourself to say something like, I guess it's not time yet. Like, it's going to be a yet, more of a yet answer. It's going to be a lot more, you're going to give yourself a lot more grace. In the moment, you're going to say, I suck. I'm not good at this. It's going to all of a sudden become really negative me self talk, where I'm to blame. And so I need people in to come up with, what are they going to tell themselves in the face of rejection? What's the inner dialogue going to be? Plan it when you're in a good space, so that when that yucky space comes, your self-talk gives you some grace.
Nice. Good advice. Good
That's
advice.
takeaway. Everyone's got to write it down. Send it to us.
Yes.
Tell us what you're going to say to yourself.
Yes. Send it to hello@awlpartners.com. And we will get it and we'll respond. We will respond.
Yeah. Comment below. I think there'll be comments. There'll be comments.
Awesome. Okay. Great conversation as always.
Wonderful. And we will see everybody very soon.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.